Hey, this is Dylan Fry, the real estate guy, here to be your guy for any real estate needs in the Kansas City area. Today, we are going to be doing one of our weekly interviews for Everyone Needs a Guy. I really believe that everyone needs somebody they can trust if they're looking around the Kansas City area, or if they're already living here, maybe there's some things that you have questions on or you want some help with or something that you're interested in. Today, we're going to have a packed show for you. We're going to have Moses. He's going to be the solar guy. He's going to help you out with any of your solar needs. We're going to get into that. But before we do, if this is your first time on the channel, make sure that you hit that like button on this video, and then also hit that follow button so that you'll subscribe to the channel. You'll get notifications of our future videos, whether it's house tours or it is our weekly interviews with different people around the Kansas City area that can help you out. Or and just make sure that you hit that little bell as well so you'll get the notifications of when those videos release so you can find people that can help you out. Now, like I was saying, we are here with Moses. I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about his story, how he got started in the solar business, and then let him tell you a little bit more about solar energy. So let's get started. Hey, Moses, tell us a little bit about your business, what you do.
Hey, well, thanks for having me, first of all. But let's see. So solar, I've been in it for about, 4 years now. Yeah. I got into it because my brother actually was originally into it first. And he said, "Hey man, you gotta come over here and get started with us." So reluctantly I did, but now it's been a great adventure so far. So let's see. Before this, I did a variety of different things. So this really just kind of fell into my lap, and I learned that I can really help people save money, prepare for the future, and really just give supreme ownership of their house. So
yeah,
it kind of stuck.
So tell me a little bit more about that. What does that look like? So somebody's going to get solar energy. What do you mean by giving them premier ownership in their house?
Well, you own your home, right? And the electricity company, they can really, turn that off or turn it on whenever they feel like it.
Yeah.
So do you really own your home at that point?
Well, and that's one thing I'm on Ameren. Is our electrical, and they're coming out and putting in new meters and stuff. And one of the things that they talked about that these new meters are going to be able to do is remotely shut off the power.
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about an energy saving thing, as well as also, I guess, if somebody doesn't pay their bill, they're going to shut it off remotely. And it's just those type of things, not having access to it and not controlling who has it.
Really? Yeah, and it's already happening, in other states like California, in Colorado, where it's illegal to build a new home without solar capabilities. And they already have the rolling blackouts and brownouts, even as close as Illinois. That state has already shut down majority of their coal plants and in efforts to push renewable energy. So it's here, and it's only going to spread across the states as government tries to push their renewable energy agenda. So, by having that ownership, by being able to supply your own energy, you can really cut those out, or cut those utility companies out as much as possible.
Yeah, and that's huge. And you're really trying to focus on where the future is headed, because that is one thing that I have a cousin that does electrical, and one of his big concerns is all these electric cars that are coming out in the future and how the grid's going to hold up to it. So talk a little bit about that. Once you have the solar panels on your house and whatnot, what does that look like for a client in terms of their electric?
Yeah, so I wanted to touch base on one thing that you said with the electric vehicles. California made it a big part of their state government to push those electric vehicles. And then at one point last year, they told people not to charge their electric vehicles. So it's, kind of a double standard. They're like, hey, we really want you guys to go renewable, but they're not really, if you don't have solar, then you don't have really control over, when you can charge a car or when you could turn on your AC unit. They have that control, and they can tell you when and when not to do those things.
Yeah, and through these meters and different stuff, there's a lot of tracking that goes into that. They can tell what device is doing what.
Exactly. So your other question was, how does that affect savings? Is that what you said?
Yes.
So let's see here. So the process of getting solar, not everyone's a good fit. So it's not like, hey, I want solar right now, and I'm going to be able to do it. So a few things that we take a look at are, you as a person, you have to have a decent credit score to be able to qualify for it. But also in the house, we have to have enough space on the home to be able to place enough panels on there to supply your home with enough energy, so you're not being stuck paying two bills, or you're not stuck. We're in a situation where you just don't have power. So we take a look at your energy bill, and we compare that to how many solar panels you would need, and then we make sure that we can place that number of panels on your home.
Yeah. So what does that look like? What's the average consumer? How many panels do they have to have?
I say the average person in Kansas City or in Missouri as a whole, you're looking maybe at about 20-ish panels on average. I would say anywhere from 18 to 24 is pretty average here in Kansas City. Now, the savings part of it has kind of gone away over time because with our current climate in the U.S., interest rates are just going crazy right now.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that the cost of solar is going up or the cost of equipment is going up. It's the cost of financing those things is going up. So it's really a long-term saving. Most people are going to be able to, maybe pay what they're paying right now and, have like next year or 2 years, that's when they'll start to see the savings.
I gotcha. So let's talk a little bit about how solar affects sorry, I had a question and then I lost it.
Yeah, I kind of blabbed there a little bit.
Well, I went completely blank on it because it's extremely exciting, but I want to talk a little bit about the worries because that's one thing that I've seen when people are talking about, hey, should I go solar? They've asked me as a real estate agent, should I go solar? Will that really add value? From everything I've heard, the value side of it, you talk a little bit about it. What do you think it adds?
So the value, man, that is something that's still being studied, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
But I've noticed that the more solar in one area, the higher the value, the resale value is on that. But if we're being transparent here, eventually everyone's going to have to go solar anyways, in
Correct.
one form or another. So the value is already there. It's just maybe long-term value. You're not going to be able to purchase your house, like redo your basement and then immediately sell it for $30,000 more. Like, no, you're going to have to buy this product, and in 5 years, as the rates increase, that's where your resale value comes in. So, if I buy solar right now and my electric or my solar rate is the same as my neighbor's electric rates, then there's no value added there.
Correct.
But in 4 or 5 years, when my utility cost is the same as it was 20 years ago or 5 years ago, and their rates are constantly going up, that's where that value comes into play.
And I want to expand on that because I think viewers may get a little bit confused on what's the real savings there. So where you're talking about is they're financing this through you. It doesn't matter whether it's tomorrow or it's 5-7 years down the road when they're still making this financing payment to you guys. That payment's not changing because it's locked in, just like a mortgage, just like everything else. Where these electrical companies, as more electricity gets used, they're going to charge more per kilowatt.
Absolutely. The electricity companies are for-profit organizations.
Yeah.
So they still have to make their money as well. So over time, they experience inflation just like everything else does. Like you touched on, locking your rate into solar, you have complete control over if it goes up or goes down. It's never going to go up on you, but you have that say, and you have that say on when you stop paying on your electric rates or on your electricity, because you can pay this thing off early if you want to, or you can take your time and pay it off as slowly as possible.
Or you could potentially pay cash for it and not have electric bill at all.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think there's a ton of options around it, and I think that focusing on that, because as everything starts to get smarter and we get more of these electric cars, that's going to be a big pressure, because now you're talking about the demand is so much higher and they can only supply so much energy.
Oh, man, you're touching on a great point there. Our grid is so outdated. It's not built to support a society that we have right now. If you think about it, like in the past 100 years, our TVs have changed, our cars have changed. We have multiple outlets in the houses, and everything in the home is electric now. And
Correct.
And in that time frame, everything has changed. but the way that we produce energy, that is still the same. So, it kind of goes into why the rates are increasing. We have to update our grid. It's just we've gotten to a point to where it's too outdated, and it's time to change.
And those costs are going to come in substantial amounts. It's not going to because that's a fixed cost. So it's not going to be something that they're able to, hey, we're taking this on and then we're going to slowly increase prices. It's going to come all at once.
Oh man.
It's going to be awful.
Oh yeah, it is awful. I bring Illinois up because they're closest to us. But Illinois, when they shut down their coal plants, people were seeing their bills double. So like you said, it wasn't like, oh, here's $10, here's $15, year by year. It said, hey, no, you had a $100 bill last year, but now your bill is $200 because we have to go renewable.
Yeah, and we have to find a way to support that, whether that's wind energy, solar energy, anything like that. So what would you say? I'm assuming that you run into this a little bit in competition style, but what do you like wind energy? How does it compare to solar energy?
Oh, that's a good question. So wind energy, if you were to, for instance, in Maryville, if you were to allow a wind company to build a turbine on your property, you never really fully own that turbine. Not only do you not own it, but the equipment it's not recyclable. There's no way for us to recycle those wings that you have, and they kill a lot of birds.
That is one of those things where it does kill a lot of birds.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't know that those the wings, I don't know what else to call it right now, but they just bury them. There's no really way to get rid of them besides just burying them.
I think the proper word is it propellers?
Propellers, there
we go. Yeah, so and they just bury them.
Yeah, whereas solar you have full control over. Well, once you buy that system, you own it yourself. You have warranties that cover it from, essentially, I call it a bumper-to-bumper warranty, so you don't have to worry about maintenance and things like that. Not every company offers those warranties, so you do want to be careful whenever you are looking into other companies. But, yeah, that ownership is, I think, a huge part in the difference there.
I think that is huge. I think that's helps people kind of see what because there is different avenues that everybody can take for renewable resource, and everybody's going to have to at some point in time because, especially from the stuff that I've been hearing about the grid and how electric cars are going and everything like that.
Good thing is there are rebates for both.
Yeah.
So for solar or wind, whichever way people decide to go, there are rebates for both.
So talk a little bit more about that. What does that look like?
So the government overall, Biden just signed the Inflation Reduction Act this past January, which increased the tax credit from 26% to 30%. So all that means is, hey, if my system costs me $100,000, then the government's going to give me $30,000 back.
Which is huge.
It's huge. No one's system costs, well, I shouldn't say no one, but it's pretty rare that I get a system that costs that much money, but just for round dollar figures. But that is huge. Like for them to say, hey, you're going to have to go renewable at some point anyways, but we're going to go ahead and give you 30% of that cost. That's just another.
Well, and there's a chance that that's not always there.
Absolutely. He just extended it, but it was set to expire. And it really just depends on who's in office because they can take that away at any point in time.
Correct. And if you're looking at going to the renewable, when that's on the table is a lot smarter option than now, because even at a $50,000, you're still going to get $15,000 back. So your system's only going to cost you $35,000 by the time you get through it. And if it's going to keep your payments the same and you get that little influx of cash, that could be huge for somebody.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Help them out. Pay their house payment for a year.
Yeah, there you go.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit more about some concerns that people might have with solar energy. One thing is, what happens when one of the panels goes bad?
So it really depends. That's why you want to vet your company as much as possible, because it really depends on what their warranty looks like. So with our warranty, you're covered bumper to bumper because you have a 25-year panel warranty. So most companies are going to offer you that one. That's through the manufacturer. So if anything goes wrong with the panel, you give them a call, and they're going to replace that material. but that doesn't mean they're going to do the work for free. So this is where our other warranty comes into play, which is a 25-year workmanship warranty. So that's going to cover the work, any work that needs to be done within the next 25 years. And then on top of that, a lot of people, I mean, you're a homeowner, you want to make sure that your roof is in good shape as long as you live there, right?
Correct.
So you get a 25-year roof warranty as well. That covers any damages during or post-installation. So if you have a leak, we'll come out there, we'll fix it for free for you as well. Oh, yeah.
That's huge.
That's huge, yeah, because most companies are only going to carry a 10-year warranty. And for us, we're like, hey, if it's not going to leak in 10 years, then it's not going to leak in 25 years. So we're sticking our necks out there. We're saying, hey, we want to stand by our product as long as you have that product. So if something does go wrong, we want to help you feel assured that, hey, you're taken care of.
So what does that vetting process look like with, you talked a little bit about the advantages that your guys' company has, but what does that vetting process look like with solar? I'm gonna be honest, I haven't dove into the different styles of solar there's out there or the different panels. What does that vetting process look like if somebody's looking to go solar?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that people or companies will build systems. So the most accurate way that we do it is we take a look at your energy consumption for the past year or 2 years, and then that tells us how many panels you would need to ensure that you're not being stuck at that 2 bill. So whenever you're vetting a company, it's kind of hard because the guy you're sitting in front of is really that company at that point in time.
Correct.
So, they can say whatever they want to say, but if you look at the reviews, I think reviews are huge. They speak for themselves. You can buy reviews, but when you see legit reviews on there, when you see the good stories, like, and they sound realistic, like, yeah. And that's a company that you want to continue to look forward into. And then scheduling that consultation, really listening to what they're saying. I think the biggest 3 complaints that people have about solar is that they're stuck with a bill, and they weren't told they were going to have a bill. So if you get into a situation where someone's like, hey, yeah, you'll never have a bill, that's a red flag there. There are situations where you won't have a bill, but to say that in that instance, never have a bill, that's just like unrealistic. We can't predict the weather.
Oh, so that's a little bit different than what I was assuming.
What were you saying?
You're saying that they could potentially have an electrical bill from the company that they're working with because there's not enough sun to provide the power for their...
Or what I was saying is that they could still have an electric bill if their system is undersized. So some companies will come in there and they'll say, hey, you're not going to have a bill because they're trying to sell savings, where, for us, we're very transparent. We want to show you exactly how much energy you're using and then how much energy we're going to say that this system is producing. And then we do have a guarantee for how much that system is going to produce. So we will back that actual production there.
Correct. So then it's on the consumer. If they do end up having a bill, they've used more than what you had guaranteed them
exactly
at that point. And I think that is the biggest part, is the transparency side of it, where if you sit down and you have those talks, and that's how we met, is I brought you out. I had a client that had swore by you, and he was like, hey, you need to check this guy out. Unfortunately, we didn't end up moving forward with the solar energy because we ended up selling the house. Yeah. But just coming out and you sitting down and going through that consultation with us and asking the different questions, looking through the bill, building out the system, that stuff takes a little bit of time, and it takes a lot of work on your guys' part. And then the cool part about that is you're guaranteeing.
Oh, yeah.
So you're saying, hey, as long as you stay around this average, it's going to work.
Exactly. Yeah, that guarantee, that's what makes me love this company. They're going to stand by their product. And if we don't get, or how do I put this? We don't want to say, hey, you're never going to receive a bill. But like you said, if you stay within this range here, then you're not going to have a bill. Or, hey, if you stay in this range here, this is what your bill is going to look like. So we're painting that picture. Hey, we're going to go month by month. In January, you're going to have a credit. In February, you're going to have a credit. In June, you might underproduce. You might receive a little bit of a bill. So those are those honest, face-to-face conversations that we like to have, because most people are okay with still having a bill if they're told they're still going to have a bill. It's where
you just have to prep them for it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what if a system, let's say somebody comes out, puts a system on their house, and then 6 months later they build a shed, and it's going to come with an extra increase in electricity and what's being used and whatnot. What does that process look like? Can they go back and add more panels? Do they have to put them on a different side because they won't match up? What's that look like?
So this kind of goes back into the electric company as well, because the electric company has so much power that people don't realize. So we can only build, like, let's say our initial visit, you haven't built that shed yet, but you're wanting to prepare, you know that you're going to build that shed. The electric company can say, hey, well, this is the system, the max system size we're going to allow you to have until you build that shed.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's say that you're planning on getting an electric vehicle, but you haven't bought it yet, which means that your electric bill hasn't reflected that you're going to buy that electric vehicle. So they'll say, hey, this is what you currently use. This is the biggest system we're going to allow you to have until you actually can prove that you need something larger.
Which, with the issues with the grid and different stuff, like a lot of that goes back to it. The side of it is that they would have to pay somebody for it.
Exactly. And our grid is outdated, so it's not built to take on extra power. So that's their excuse, and that's what it boils down to, is that, hey, we want to make sure that we're not receiving as much power as we're giving out. And like you said, then they have to pay someone for that, and that's not what they're prepared to do.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about those systems that do overperform. Say somebody puts that on their system and then they use less energy. Because it's one of those things where when they notice, hey, I know how much I can produce, like, let's see if we can cut it down a little bit. Because I've seen that with back when I had car insurance business. If you gave people an app that tracked their driving and stuff, they became better drivers because they were like, hey, I can save a little bit more. So now we're shutting off the lights in the bathroom when we go in, and sometimes you see the opposite where people are leaving them on now because they're like, hey, we can do whatever we want. Right. But say they're shutting it off, they're really focusing, and they drive that energy down. What does that look like from a consumer standpoint with the electric company? I assume it's different with everyone.
It is different with every electric company. But the good thing is, like you said, people, they're either one way or the other. But you get an app that's going to track your minute-by-minute production. So you get to see what appliances are using the most power, which ones are using the least, so you can turn your washer on or maybe wash an extra load of clothes. But if you ever produce extra power, the beauty here in Kansas City is that most people have Energy. So they do give you $1 credit towards your bill in that month. But let's say that you have extra power at the end of the month, they're not going to give you $1 for $1. It's like 2 cents on the dollar. Yeah, so it's a lot less, and it's there to prevent people from wanting to produce an absurd amount of extra power.
Correct. So in that instance, if I use less power than I produce this month, I don't get to roll that over to the next month.
You do. It's just not.
It's not as big.
It's not as big.
Okay. Then that seems fair enough. The app side of it, like my wife, I don't know how most people are out there, but my wife, if she got to see how much power everything was pulling, then she is going to be going through and saying, hey, we're only running the ice maker this long.
Turn it off.
We're only running, like, how do we turn this fridge off? Because I want to drive this down a little bit. And that's just her personality. She'd be trying to shut different stuff off, which I'd be going behind her. You stop turning off my AC.
Oh, man.
Because you're driving me crazy. I have to do that now. Because she's happy if it's 80 degrees in the house, and I'm...
Oh, no. I got to have it like 66.
Oh, I'm not that low, but I like a smooth 70. And sometimes I get home, and she's completely shut it off, and it's 90 degrees outside. She's outside anyways. And then I come inside, and I'm like... It's 85 degrees in here. What are you doing?
Oh, man.
Well, we didn't need the air on today. Come on now.
Yeah, maybe we won't show her the app part of that.
Yeah, no. I'd keep that out of her hands.
Oh, yeah.
But so let's switch gears a little bit. Talk a little bit about Kansas City. So tell us a little bit. How long have you been in Kansas City?
Born and raised.
Born and raised.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. So what are some things that you love about the Kansas City area?
Hey, we're a sports town. So if you don't like sports, I don't think you can live here. And I always say Patrick Mahomes and his family, they're like royalty here. So just get used to that. And, make sure you have on the right color jerseys.
Yeah, you showed up in a Kansas City Chiefs shirt. Yeah. Yeah, you're ready to support.
Oh, yeah.
I think that is huge. And that's one thing that everybody I have talked on here has hit on it is we're craving more sports, too. Like, we want a basketball team. Hockey team would be nice.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a big hockey fan, but a basketball team I would love it.
I'm not a big hockey fan either, but I still find myself at those Mavericks games. Independence. Those are still fun, and that's not professional. Well, I guess semi-professional, but those are still fun. And like you said, the basketball would just blow up here.
Oh yeah, everybody would love it. I judge it like that's one of my big things is if they ever go to an expansion team. If I ever had the money to do it, I would definitely be in an ownership group.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be awesome. Or just get season tickets. I could live there, too. But, yeah, what are some things that you think somebody should be prepared for if they are moving to the Kansas City area? Maybe some dislikes.
Oh, some dislikes. Oh, man. Oh, well, since Kansas City's blowing up, I've noticed the traffic's definitely gotten a lot worse.
Yeah?
So I would say maybe that's a dislike, but there's not a whole lot to dislike about Kansas City besides the weather. You know, if I ever talk about moving, I don't say like, oh, I don't like the people or I don't like the city. It's always, man, this winter is kind of dragging along.
Well, and it's normally the third day of it completely going the opposite. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, it was sunny yesterday and it was 70 degrees, but today it's snowing.
Yeah. And you think you're almost out of that winter, and there you are.
And then tomorrow it's raining, and then you get out of the winter. And I know this happened last week. Every day was 70 degrees, but then all of a sudden there's this hailstorm that comes through, and you're like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, it can't make up its mind, that's for sure.
So that's one of the big things that I know a lot of people say about any of the Midwest states deal with that.
Yeah.
It can't ever make up its mind on what it wants to go. We're kind of the center for everything. So if it's cold up here, it's gonna roll down to us. If it's hot down here, it's gonna roll up to us, and it's just gonna be in the middle, and we're gonna have tornadoes, and it's gonna be an interesting time.
So just get used to it.
So what's the biggest thing that you love about Kansas City area?
I think we have amazing food, all over the place. I was really thinking about this earlier, and I think that, we're a big city, but we're not big compared to any of these other larger cities, Chicago or LA or Houston or, so we still have that small town feel to it. That southern hospitality almost. So we're not really the South. We're not really big. So it's a really good, just like moderate of everything. So, I think it's great.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think that's one of the big things is how inviting people are. Mm-hmm. You can walk into anyone and tell them about your story. That's one thing that I'm trying to do with these interviews is help other people's businesses blow up. But you rarely find somebody that isn't willing to help you out if you ask for it.
Right.
If you go up to somebody, tell them your story, you're genuine, you're nice to them, everybody wants to help everybody out.
Oh, yeah. I feel like when people visit, people want to be here. So it's not really, where you're running into situations where people they really can't find anything to dislike about Kansas City.
And you see that a lot with fan bases because I know a lot of different fan bases. I'm a Lakers fan as well, and the LA fan base is they're a little wild,
a little blunt.
Yeah. They every game they either love somebody or they hate somebody, and I think that's a different side of it that are the sports players that are in the Kansas City area love is because they're on a high.
Oh yeah.
Like if you're doing well, they love you. Even if you're not doing the greatest, they still love you because they're like, you guys are awesome and we love watching you guys play, and it gives us something to go do and have fun with other people.
Exactly. The Royals have been so bad for so long, and we still find a reason to go tailgate at their games, and we still find a reason to to show up and make sure that they feel supported. So.
I think that's a big thing. Is it is a very big tailgating community.
Oh man, Yeah, so
I think there's more
attractions,
people
like,
outside.
exactly. They had to ban us from staying in the parking lots after game time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's wild. Okay, so let's get back over to the solar side and how you can help people. Tell me a little bit about what that initial process looks like with the solar panels. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but let's dive a little bit deeper.
Okay.
in what do people need when they come to you with questions about solar?
So, like I said, there is a lot of different ways to build a system. So what we like to do is schedule maybe a 30-minute to hour consultation. And during that time, we're taking a look at your utility bill. We are showing you how solar works and trying to simplify it as much as possible. And then at the end of that, we're looking at numbers, because that's what everyone wants in the end, is they want to see what those numbers look like. And we're definitely not going to be the cheapest, but I definitely believe that we are one of the highest quality. So when we get to the numbers, it's no BS. What you see is what you get. And sometimes you're not a good fit, but most people are. The traditional Kansas City homes with all the peaks and dormers and things like that, there's not a whole lot of space for panels. But for the most part, that's really it. We'll take a look at your bill, show you how it works, and we're going to give you numbers. Super quick process.
It's super easy.
Oh, yeah.
It makes
How'd you feel about it?
I felt great about it. I was excited to do it, and then we had some situations to where we were like, well, we're thinking about moving and different stuff. We're having another kid. Let's go make this move. So situation changed, but we were ready to do it because I love the piece where I have control over it. That's one big thing that I've always had in my life is I love to have control of anything. That's why I've always been an entrepreneur and started businesses and helped other people with their businesses as well, because I do like to control stuff. So that's a big selling point to me. Lastly, if somebody's hesitating on solar, what are those things that you think are holding them back, and how do you work around that?
Oh, that's a great question. So moving, that's one of the biggest concerns for most people. And, I'm not the pushy person to say, oh, yeah, it's going to work even if you're moving. It's not. That, like I said earlier, that resale value isn't there yet. So you're going to be able to sell the system for exactly what you got it for and nothing more. If you're moving within the next 2 years, I would say, hey, this isn't a good fit for you. You have to be there at least 2 years to get that value of it. And then people who hesitate, maybe they don't have the most savings, but that also kind of boils down to, you are taking out a loan. And I think that kind of creates uncertainty there, because you're not taking out a loan with your electric company, even though you have a unwritten contract, but it's still month to month. So you're not looking at a big number. You're looking at a very small monthly payment, and you really don't even pay attention to it.
Correct, but it could come into play with something else, and that's just something people need to be cognizant of, is that it is an extra loan, and it is that I think that would be one of the biggest hesitations that I would have as a consumer, is that it is an extra loan. It is going to show up on your credit report. It is going to be that play into debt to income ratio, stuff like that,
right,
where with the electric company it doesn't, but you're paying it either way.
Yeah, exactly.
that's the side of it where you're paying it either way, at least until you get it paid off or whatever. So how does that look? Because you talked about it, if people are selling it and you're getting essentially what it does, do you guys roll those loans into the next person? Do they have to be paid off at closing? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you get two options. The first option is the most popular one, and that's just transferring over everything to the new homeowner. Just like you with your normal electricity company, like, hey, I don't live here anymore, it's their problem. That's the most popular option, just because everyone seems to be in a rush to get out of that house and move into the next one ever since 2020 happened. Now everything is kind of slowing down, and interest rates are up, so people are taking their time. We're getting inspections. The second option is selling it with the home, and that's where it might not be the most popular, but that's where you're going to make the most money from it. So that way, it's just paid at closing. You'll just include the cost of the solar, just like you would. I always use the finished basement or a pool. You include that all into the cost of the home, and then once you guys get paid, it's paid at closing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And that's where the valuation side of it comes in, and that's where I think it would get. In my job, I feel like that would be the most difficult side from an appraiser side or whatever it is.
There's definitely more paperwork involved in it.
Yeah, there's definitely more paperwork involved, and you have to make sure it's the right fit. And I do understand why that's the most popular is just transferring it, because they're used to having an electric bill anyways. Now they're going to roll into this new one. Well, I really appreciate you coming out and hopping on here with us, because I think that's one thing that people, if you're not thinking about solar now, that you need to start being a little bit cognizant of renewable energy as things start to heat up in the electric car and all the different electric stuff. You need to be paying attention to it and see how it can help you. And I encourage you to reach out to Moses. But before we go, give me your elevator pitch. Why should people call you? You've talked about it a lot already, and I think that if anybody's watching this full video, they're going to be sold on you regardless. But give us your elevator pitch.
Well, kind of like what we touched on so far, you're going to have to do it regardless. It's just a matter of time, so you might as well have control over when you do it and not be forced to do it in the future. So talking to me, it's going to offer you the best warranties and no BS. So I'll take a look at it and let you know if you're a good fit. And, we might not be the best fit for you, but I'll definitely show you everything and make sure that you're at least educated on the decision that you make.
That's awesome. I really appreciate that. So somebody sold on solar energy and they're ready to get this thing started. How are they going to reach out to you?
Reach out to me at energyrenewables.com or energyOneRenewables.com. You can also reach out to me at, should I give my phone number?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You can also reach out to me, 816-694-6347. That's my personal line. You can shoot me a text, or you can email me over your bill at moses@energyonerenewables.com, and I'll just take a look at it, send you an honest report back, and then maybe we can start a conversation from there.
That's awesome. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Dylan.
Again, this is Dylan Fry, the real estate guy, here to be your guy for any real estate needs in the Kansas City area. I'm going to be connecting you with people that are going to help you move to the Kansas City area or your life that you're already in the Kansas City area a lot better. Going to be bringing you different sides of education as well. If you really like this video, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and then also hit that little bell for so you'll get future notifications of future interviews with different people so that they can make this a lot easier for you. And if you have any real estate needs and you're looking to move to the Kansas City area or sell your home, or you've just got questions about different things in the area, give me a call, 816-903-1523. Thank you.
Thanks.